Ms. Mosby, how do you feel about this split verdict?
No comment. Leave it alone. Leave it alone.
Ms. Mosby, are you happy with the decision to take the stand?
No comment. No comment. No comment. No comment. You done enough. Thank you.
Former Baltimore City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby staying silent after being found guilty of one count of mortgage fraud. After a full day of deliberation, the jury finding Mosby lied on the mortgage application for the home she purchased in Longboat Key, Florida, but not on the application for the home in Kissimmee. Today's conviction comes after a guilty verdict in November to 2 counts of perjury. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Now the city's former top prosecutor awaits her sentence in both cases. Fox 25's Mackenzie Frost was in court today as the verdict was read and joins us now with the very latest. Mackenzie.
Yeah, Mary, today's verdict came after more than 3 weeks of this trial and 6 hours of deliberations from the jury. For weeks, Marilyn Mosby and her defense team have walked into the courthouse in Greenbelt with not much to say publicly. Ms. Mosby, how are you feeling today?
I'm blessed. How are you today?
If I get caught, I'm going to participate.
And after the split verdict from the jury convicting the former town prosecutor in Baltimore City on mortgage fraud, not much from her either. Are you happy with the decision to take the stand?
No comment. No comment.
Only cheers from her supporters as her car drives away. Despite prayer circles this week from Mosby's defenders,
there's a lawyer in the courtroom. Today we're asking that you be the lawyer, the judge, and the jury. Father God bless her.
the jury deciding Marilyn Mosby lied to mortgage lenders when she bought this condo in Longboat Key, Florida. It was this gift letter, the jury said, that sunk Marilyn Mosby. During testimony, she says her mortgage broker told her she was $5,000 short in order to clinch a favorable interest rate. So her then husband, Baltimore City Council President Nick Mosby, says he offered to gift her the cash. During his testimony, Nick says he wanted to help. But the problem, Nick didn't have the funds. An FBI forensic accountant testified after combing through the couple's finances, the Mosbys shuffled the money around. This flowchart shown to the jury describes how it worked. It was Marilyn who actually took $5,000 she had in an account shared with her daughter and wired it to Nick. Nick then shuffled it between his savings and checking account before sending it off for the condo. From the beginning of the case, Marilyn Mosby's defense was she did not knowingly lie on the mortgage applications. Rather, she blamed Nick for hiding the mail and hiding the growing tax debt. On the stand, Nick telling the jury his comment about the $45,000 tax lien on the Mosby's home in Baltimore.
Have your tax issues been resolved?
Yes, thank you.
Was a lie, all in an attempt to conceal the problem from Marilyn. Marilyn also blaming her broker for omitting the tax debt on the mortgage applications, saying this box that's checked was filled out by the broker, not her. The jury seemingly believing that story, at least for one of the homes, since they found Marilyn not guilty on the mortgage fraud charge connected to the Kissimmee home. In closings, prosecutors hammering to the jury's Marilyn's criminal past in the same courtroom this trial unfolded in. Last November, a separate jury convicted Marilyn on 2 perjury counts, deciding she lied when she claimed a financial hardship to withdraw money from her retirement account penalty-free using a COVID-era exception. That money was then used to purchase both Florida properties. Maryland's federal public defender, James Wida. Mr. Wida? Staying tight-lipped after the split verdict. Several delays, 2 years, and 2 trials later. Ms. Mosby, what's your comment to the people of Baltimore? Baltimore City's former state's attorney convicted on 3 of 4 federal charges. Now, Marilyn and her team say they plan to appeal the perjury convictions, but nothing has been filed yet. Right now, it's unclear what their plan will be for the latest conviction.
And Mackenzie, what do we know about sentencing for both these guilty verdicts?
Well, right now we don't have any dates scheduled. The maximum penalty ranged significantly. For the perjury, she faces up to 5 years for each charge. For the mortgage fraud conviction, the max is 30 years in prison. Legal experts indicate the maximum is not likely, but how both sides approach this will likely be different.
But ultimately, the defense team is going to argue that these are the same transactions or similar transactions, and so the sentencing guidelines should be reduced. And the federal prosecutors are going to argue that they should be increased because they are separate incidents, separate transactions, and they should all be on top of one another. And so ultimately, the judge is going to decide how those sentencing guidelines are applied. I would suspect that we land somewhere between 18 and 24 months.
And Mackenzie, we know Nick Mosby opened himself up for potential legal trouble while testifying. All experts seem to agree on that. Do we know what will happen there?
Yeah, Mary, that is a big question. While he was on the stand, prosecutors made some pretty big allegations. Prosecutors claim Nick Mosby repeatedly committed perjury on his taxes. According to those same prosecutors, Nick claimed to have donated more than $20,000 to charity. And the same year, when he was behind on mortgage payments, had his car repossessed, and had his wages garnished to pay his student loans. While this whole investigation first launched more than 2 years ago at this point, federal investigators were looking at the Mosby's charitable donations. Church leaders were even questioned, but tax fraud charges were never brought. Now, we don't know what's going to happen with Nick in the future, but I can tell you we've talked to several political analysts who argue this could impact Nick Mosby's re-election efforts, especially with more scrutiny on Nick Mosby's finances as he continues to lead the city council and chair the city spending board.
Yeah, well, I certainly hope that he's handling the city's finances and being a watchdog on the city finances better than he is in his own household. That's obvious, number one. Number two, it was fascinating to me that he testified without any sort of immunity. He certainly placed himself in significant jeopardy. Federal prosecutors certainly don't take lightly to individuals coming in and admitting to significant financial crimes on the witness stand. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out.
Now, so far, Nick Mosby has not filed for re-election. The deadline for him to do so is Friday at 9 p.m. Live in the studio, Mackenzie Frost, Fox 45 News.
Mackenzie, thank you. Well, Fox 45 News first learned about the tax lien on the Mosby's home more than 3 years ago. In October of 2020, we pressed Nick Mosby on that lien several times. He repeatedly denied its existence.
Quick, you've denied the existence of your tax lien on your property multiple times.
I have not multiple times.
Can you say that this is the actual lien on your property?
You can talk to my attorney.
No, Tom, there's no lien placed on my home right now. There was never a lien on my property. This is not a lien on the property. There was never a lien that was rendered on my property. There is no lien on my property. There's never been a lien on my property. It's not a lien on my property. I don't have a property lien.
Well, Fox 45 News has been following the Mosby's financial concerns and this federal investigation since we learned about that lien. We first learned about the federal investigation in March of 2021. Federal agents issued subpoenas to several people surrounding the couple. We also learned about Marilyn Mosby's purchase of the Florida homes. Fast forward to January 13th, 2022, when Marilyn Mosby is federally indicted on 2 counts of perjury and 2 counts of mortgage fraud.
I mean, it's sad because Baltimore has a long history of corruption in our local government.
There's just a pattern of kind of saying she's a victim, and in reality, a lot of this stuff is her misbehavior on a personal level.
Mosby's trial was set for May of 2022, but it was delayed 3 times. The last delay came 1 year ago after her entire defense team withdrew from the case, and she was assigned federal public defenders. The judge delayed the trial to allow Mosby's new defense team to get up to speed on the case. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you for watching. Here's another video for you to watch. Also, take some time to subscribe to our YouTube channel.